Hey heroes, welcome to the Hosts4Hire Podcast. I am Lucas Rand. This is Kyle Cage, and we are your hosts for hire. As always, if you like our content, please like, share, subscribe at Hosts4Hire Podcast with the number 4. We will be forever and eternally in your debt. Now, Kyle and I were having a good discussion, and we decided that we wanted to involve all of you, and that is what makes a good villain. And there's like a lot to this that like it started as like a weird small question, became like this whole thing. We were like, all right, let's go record about it.
Yeah, and
It's good.
of course, our opinions are only mean so much. That's why we want you guys to get into the comments. Let us know what your favorite villains are and why. Rip us
Yes.
apart as to why our favorite villains are actually terrible villains.
And what
Anything you want to let
makes
us
a
know.
good villain to you? Like in
Yeah,
whatever
what are your
story it is, whether it
yeah.
be like a book novel or like a video game, a comic book, live action story, something that completely is not related to comics. If you're just like, oh, there's this like horrible bitch, tell us about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we would love to hear it. I'm to jump in, I'm of two minds when it comes to it. Like a part of me wants my villains, some of my villains to be evil. To just be evil, to
Right.
have no remorse, to have no, accountability for their own actions. That some villains that works really well with.
Hmm.
And then another part of my mind is I also want to be able to relate to my villains. I want them to be
Right.
right in some way.
So it's interesting you say that. So like I think if you were to have asked me this question like 10 years ago, I would say that like relatability in a villain is extraordinarily important. And that's what I
Mhm.
wanted to see like in a live action movie. If we're talking comics, I wanted to see that, right? Um Now I think that the relatable villain kind of became an industry standard like trope almost,
That's a
where
really good
like
point.
it became all of them.
The standard, yeah.
And then like for example, it was so much that at least for me, seeing Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin again in No Way Home made his character so much better. Like maybe like his character like wasn't like wouldn't be as good if it wasn't for that like yes, like a character who's just bad, and he's
Yeah.
just bad because fuck you is why. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
like that's like some like so now I think I like that more in my villains when I'm watching in the live action.
That's a really good point. That before the MCU and before, like, I would say Loki
Thanos
was
and
Thanos.
Loki.
Thanos was, yeah, like Loki was the start of it in the first
Hmm.
Avengers, I think.
Yep.
But even before then, like they made
But then it became like every single one, like I'm just
hmm
pulling like a random one out of my brain, like the one from the Marvels. Very kind of meh villain, and like she was still like they tried to make her relatable by making it, like she lost like everything that day. So like that's why she became a villain. Like it's like that in every story. It's like, and I lost my family, and that's why I became a villain. Which is like
hmm
what makes good villains, right? Is that depth. But then
that
like
tragedy,
sometimes when it
but
becomes all of it, this actually brings to me what I wanted to talk about, and it's what are like the like high pillars of villainy? Like what makes
mm,
a villain, like in the sense of like world domination, like is like a pillar of villainy. Like if that's your goal, like you're that type of villain. Like if you're like a like one of those relatable villains, like a good example like Thanos. Like that is like objectively maybe doing something not all that crazy, but like it's hurting people. So like you're
yeah,
still the villain. You know what I
yep.
mean? Uh
I think
there's like a
another,
lot of different architypes, right? And then
yeah,
the other one is like Joker, right? The
hmm
villain for
it's
villainy
exactly what
sake,
I was gonna say. Just
the crazy like because
ho-
because
hmm
like
Yeah, just because I can. Well, and
exactly.
what's interesting about that is that it's not so much a relatability as that an understandability, and that we talked about this the other day actually, how Joker, it feels like in Joker's mind he's the only one who's not crazy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like in his mind he's trying to hold a mirror to society. He is a
Yeah.
mirror to society,
Yeah. For
that
sure.
they actually all believe and want to
Yeah.
do what
And
he is
specifically
willing
to
to do.
Batman, to Batman, to Batman, that he's one bad day away from becoming him.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
that's like a really big thing, which is like amazing. Like I think
mhm.
another like great pillar of villainy is like what's a good way to put it? We're playing through Expedition 33 right now, so it's like in my brain like the mysterious villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one that like their villainy is like, or at least like the appeal of their villainy to the audience is the mystery behind what's going on. Like,
Who's the real villain? Who's
right.
actually the villain? Great
Yes.
example is Attack on Titan. The Titans in Attack on
Yes.
Titan. For the first couple seasons, it's like, oh man, what are these evil creatures that just are
That's
hell
a
bent on
great example.
destroying
And
human
it keeps the
civilization?
audience in this like, and not to say that when the reveal came, it got worse, but like the reveal comes. And then like, like it kind of just like,
It changes the story. It's
yeah,
funny you bring up Claire Obscure because there's a point in that game as well where where they it's a misdirect. That's the word I'm
yeah,
looking
the
for.
beautiful
It's a
misdirect.
beautiful misdirect with the Titans where they make
Yeah.
it seem for so long that this is what's happening, and then the
When
reality
it's
is
really, yeah.
it's not just that the Titans aren't villains; it's that the world isn't what you thought it was.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. And like that's like one of those like I feel like one of those high pillars of like what it is to like create a good villain in a story.
I was about to
You
say
know what I mean?
that's a pillar of storytelling for me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
to be
yeah,
able to misdirect and be
yeah.
able to pull the wool over people's eyes so effectively, that's
Like
great
that one's a
storytelling.
really interesting take, Attack on Titan, because like there's no like villain. Like once you complete the story,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to be vague in case like anyone hasn't like
Anyone
seen it.
hasn't seen it,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like it's one of those things like in the first season, like the villain is the Titans. And then like
Unequivocally.
the more it goes on, it's like, wait, like are they? And then it's like more like are the people's villains? And then it's like it just like keeps building, and then, like it almost turns out that like the world is the villain. Like the
Society, yeah.
story itself like is woven, like there is no what we thought, there is no heroes and villains. Like it all just
No.
wipes off like the page of that mindset.
There's only conflict,
Which is, yeah,
there's no
right,
there's
which is
and which
fascinating.
I never thought about that in people have said this for a long time. It's a very famous saying. There are no winners and losers in war. That was the point of that story. It just clicked for the first time ever
Damn
that the
dog.
point of Attack on Titan is that there are no winners and losers in war.
Damn dog.
That there are only losers. Damn.
Somebody's gonna be like, no, the point of Attack on Titan was
or someone's gonna be like, yeah, no shit. Thanks, Captain Obvious.
It's a horrible mirror to society. But yeah,
another villain I think that should be up here for me personally. I know you weren't huge on Watchmen, but Osmond Diaz, who is technically the villain of the Watchmen,
oh right, okay, I'm
the
around
one
you.
who has the plan to destroy the world, but in reality, what he's doing is creating a threat that will unify the world through
Yeah,
really, really messed up, fucked up,
yeah,
nefarious means. His end goal and the ends justify the means kind of
yeah,
thing.
right,
He's like
interesting.
there's that type of villain as well.
That reminds me of like that comic where like Doom takes over the world and it's like a better world. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like bad at first, but then like in the future, it's like kind of a freaking utopia.
Yeah, which is
Like
exactly kind of the story
which is
of
like it
the.
ends up being kind of fucked up, and it's all like
Mhm.
being like heavily surveilled, and like everyone has a curfew, like blah blah blah. But like to the eye, like it's
Crime is down,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
murder
yeah. Like
is
everyone's
down, like
happy, like seemingly.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It's an interesting parallel to Watchmen with that because that's the like premise of it is that like Rorschach wants to always tell the truth no matter what the outcome is. But what gets me about that story is with Doctor Manhattan siding with Osmondius in the end and being like, no, I can see the future. He's right.
yeah, right,
This
yeah,
will
yeah, yeah,
bring humanity together, even though it's a really messed up way to do it. It will work.
yeah. He's like my morals are loose.
Yeah, exactly. And like Doctor Doom is another great example of
Yeah,
that. I'm glad you brought that up because it's the same thing where it's like, yeah, I know what I'm like, and they're aware of it. Like I
yeah.
know that suffering is going to happen, but
But
in
like
the
I'm
end, it'll
gonna
be
make
worth
it
it.
better. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
What are
yeah.
some of your guys' favorite villain tropes and
Yeah, or like the archetypes of villainy to
mhm.
you. Like what is like one of those like things that like now I'm trying to like think of like in like books and stuff, like what makes a villain an interesting character? Is it like the
Interesting.
tragedy of it? Is it that like you relate to it? Is it that it could be you? Is it like the fascination of like how twisted you can make somebody?
How
You know what
how
I mean?
like
Like
Seems like now I'm thinking about it, it seems like grief is a very common through line with
Hmm.
villains, that like
For
grief
sure.
will cause them to do the things they end up doing.
And the
Like,
fascinating thing with it is so with heroes also. Like if you think of
mhm.
every hero, like what's the trope? You know, like my parents died, my uncle died. Like if you wanted to be a hero as a kid, like the reality was is that you kind of wanted your parents to die.
Yeah, until they do.
Yeah, and then you're like,
You're like, damn, is that my fault?
oh, I wish I didn't even get any powers.
That wasn't worth it at all.
Yeah,
But
but you know that's the what we always talk about. That's like that beautiful art that comics is, and like why like it can relate to being to adults, because like that's exactly it. Like the same um effect causes two different like outcomes. You
yeah,
know,
reactions.
like tragedy creates like both the villain and the hero. You know,
It
like
can either
Bat
it can either raise you up or bring you down.
turn you into
Like,
Batman or like turn you into, you know, like Joker. You know,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
You know what's
uh
interesting about Joker, now that I'm thinking about it, through all the different iterations that Joker is, I feel like he has been every pillar. Like, there's been like the
yeah,
Jack
it's really
Nicholson
interesting.
gangster version, there's
Yeah,
the crazy, like,
like
just
one in with the
psychopathic.
mind of world domination, the one for just crazy for crazy sake, which is like Ledger's.
Yep,
Uh,
yeah. One
um,
that has like a personal vendetta against Batman, which is more like Mark Hamill's animated.
I was
Like,
gonna say the Mark Hamill one is just like in my mind like the perfect Joker.
that's all of them. That's
Like
the
it's just like
quintessential.
the Joker. You know, like it's just like the like exactly. It's just the quintessential Joker.
Which
Uh,
you know what's funny is that on any given day, that Joker could be the gangster one, could be
totally.
the chaos one. It could, like, that's why he's the
That's why he's
perfect
the
one.
best one. Is
At
is,
any
is
given
he's the
day, he could
roulette? You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like it's beautiful.
I would needless to say, I think I've never really thought about this, but when I break it down, I think my favorite villain of all time would have to be would be Joker. I
Joker.
think, yeah.
That's interesting. And like while you were just saying that, I thought of another pillar of villainy, at least in my mind, and it's the like the insurmountable threat. Like Galactus is a good
Mm.
example of that. You know, like that, like it's this insurmountable threat.
We
Like
can't
it's like
punch our way out of
you
this.
can't punch your way out. You can't power your way out. He's not even necessarily like Galactus is an interesting one because he's not necessarily bad. He's just a function of the
Yeah, he's just
universe.
doing him.
But again, kind of like Thanos, but he's hurting people, you know, so he must be stopped. You know,
Hmm.
but that's like another one, you know, like the wall essentially
Hmm.
that like that you can't get past. Like Sephiroth is another interesting one, like that. He's more of like that duality, that perfect duality between like the
Hmm.
hero and villain,
Which,
but
like, he
also
goes from
just like
being the
you can't
world's
escape.
greatest hero to the world's greatest
Yeah,
villain. One
yeah, yeah,
person
yeah, yeah.
is both
Yeah, that's
simultaneously,
very
like,
interesting.
because of society. And that's another one where, like, society, like, that's another big trope where society beats these people down until they have no choice but to fight
But
back with
yeah,
any
right.
means necessary,
Hmm.
or to be broken down so much they don't care anymore.
Yeah. So like I guess I'm trying to think not necessarily what's my favorite villain, but what's like my favorite villain like trope? Like what's like my favorite
Mm.
villain pillar? And man, that's a really hard one cuz like you said like Joker's your favorite villain and I'm like I'm leaning towards just like the crazy for crazy's sake. Like
Hmm.
I love that. But then also it's interesting, man. Like
Well, and the reason I said Joker is because of how well he encapsulates all the pillars.
yeah,
So if I had to pick a pillar, I would probably say the relatability, like to have some kind of, for instance, Aragon, the villain in Aragon, the book series. It's Galbatorix, this evil king that's been ruling for 100 years with an iron fist. It turns out he lost his dragon, and like that's like losing your child. You know, they have like
right.
their souls
Soul
bond
bonded.
and
Yeah.
connect, and he lost that part of his soul. So therefore, he became a really blackened and cold and evil individual. But even though he's still just objectively evil, there's reasoning
There's
for it.
reasoning
There's some
behind it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
relatability.
yeah.
Like,
For sure, for sure. Man, that's such a hard question because like I think mine is gonna it as well that, but also like the villain where like the end justifies the means. You know,
that is a good one too.
I really like those, or like trying to think of a good example of. of this, but I can't quite pull it forward. But like one of those like full circle villains that you don't know they're the villain until like the end.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Until like the reveal villain. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like that is also like just it's so good. I'm trying to think of a really good example of that, and
So
I
what's
really can't.
interesting is the first like really good example I can think of is the Boys comic book, because they don't do this in the show at all. But
Oh
in
yeah,
the graphic novel with Black, again, if you want to read the Boys and haven't, don't listen
spoiler
to
warning.
this part, spoiler warning. But with Black Noir, the reveal of Black Noir being the evil Homelander, and that he had been committing most,
The one
if not
that's
all, of
doing
the
everything.
atrocities, the
Right.
actual like atrocities. Like Homelander was doing some pretty bad evil shit in the books, but nothing like all of the real atrocities that Billy was going after him for, that the boys were going after him for, was a completely different character, and they reveal that in the last issue of the fucking
Yeah,
comic.
that's good.
Like that's a good example of like that like
Yeah.
twisty reveal.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, he's the villain this whole time. Like he's been a background character who hasn't said a word in 80 issues of this comic.
Right. Yeah. No, that is good. Or like Nolan from like Omni-Man. You know, like
That's
that's
another
a fast
good
one. It comes quick on you.
Yeah.
But like it's another like like the reveal villain is a damn good villain, dude.
Yeah.
Like
usually if as long as it's done well, like because there are those things where you're like 10 minutes into a movie or like 3 issues into a comic and you're like, well, that's the real villain.
Oh right,
like,
right. Yeah, totally.
but now that I think about it, that's actually in my mind a good indication of the writing, how well the writing is. If I'm caught by surprise, that means it's written well.
Yes,
Claire Obscure,
100%.
Expedition 33.
Oh.
I got to the point in the story where they reveal a bunch of shit and I was leaning back, leaning forward, head in hands, like it was. I couldn't stop.
I was numb with the power of knowing afterwards because I couldn't talk to you about it.
You were the first one.
You were just going through, and I couldn't talk to Tiago or Ivan or anybody, and I was just like sitting there, like,
what do I do now? That's actually a good
incredible.
point. Is that
incredible storytelling?
Every great story has left me speechless. Every single like great series finale when it comes to TV, every great final issue of a comic.
That's the feeling you want as the creator.
Yeah, is you just want to. I can imagine. Yeah, as a creator, that's what the feeling you're trying to invoke is, just like almost like awe, where you're just kind of numb and just like, what?
Like a good example for that for me. We're going off tangent, but that's fine. Is Kingdom Hearts 3 at the end? Like the creators, they wanted me to sit there and weep, like I was sitting there and weeping. Like that must it must feel kind of really good, but like I guess there's no way for you to know as the creator, right? Like that you're giving people that feeling.
Yeah. So I mean, with the technology age, it's nice to like I assume for like especially for game creators, they can see people streaming their games and stuff all over the place. But like for like authors and stuff, I can imagine it's when they go to book signings and people come up and they tell them about how much their life has changed or how much they were affected by certain things. Like, but they like you're saying, there's no instant gratification with that. They kind of have to seek that out a little bit.
Like that's kind of like. Like when the rock star comes out to the stage and the crowd like cheers and it hits him with that wave of euphoria, like that must be the closest you could get as like a storyteller or like a creator.
Is to have someone come out and be like, I did not see that coming at all. Like,
yeah, dude.
Like we call it the M. Night Shyamalan twist. Can you imagine what it would have been like? What it must be like to be him? Like God, I'm good.
And then so bad.
Yeah.
But you guys, tell us what your favorite villains are. What's your favorite pillars of villainy? What like does it mean to you to be the like best villain? And then also like who you think like in media is the best villain?
Yeah, who are the best and worst in your mind? Who is the high watermark for villainy that we need to try and recreate or at least touch upon those aspects of that? And which ones should we throw in the gutter and never see again?
Here, we were gonna do Colin's questions, but instead of doing Colin's question, I'm gonna hit you with a question really quick instead. So we're keeping this theme of villainy. Live action. Just go in the brain of live action. What is the best and worst villain?
Oh, that's so tough, dude. That's really hard.
I have the worst one in my mind
Arnold
right now,
Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze.
It might be personal. Oh God. That was not what I was thinking. That's so good, dude. That's a good one, bro.
That is it's a bad one. That's what
It's a bad one. That's a bad one.
It's a good bad one. Yeah, that's gonna be my worst. I'm gonna have to do a second for my
How
best.
dare you, dude? How dare you, dude?
Nice to meet you.
You can't be pulling out zingers like one-liners like that and be the worst of the worst. Dude.
You're right. You make a good point. The amount of one-liners, nice to meet you, incredible. Like,
I'm trying to pull another one out and I can't. What's wrong with me right now? I'm just on the spot and I can't pull it. I know.
It's the only one I ever really remember, though, is the eyes to meet you.
I can't. Wow. Brain fart. Unbelievable. Put down in the comments some Freezinator one-line quotes, please, because why can't I pull anyone's like out of my mind? It's crazy. For me, the worst Muse.
Oh.
I'm just gonna say it. I don't know. Like I said, like it might just be personal and recent for me right now. It's the worst iteration of a comic book villain to live action, to like the usefulness of him to the screen, the disrespect of like the character, the like utter why of having him there.
How much it took away from the story is really what.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
just to be nothing.
Another actual example I would say is Black Masks. Ewan McGregor's Black Mask is
that's
a
really
good one. Bad one. Yeah,
that's
like
a good one.
Just because, like, how are you going to take one of the great actors of our generation and give him such a shit character that even he can't save it?
I just was going to say that one was an extra hurt because, like, it was meant to be good.
Goddamn Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right. Yeah, it is meant to be good. Like, and then it wasn't. That's a heartache bad right there.
Yeah. I'm just stalling trying to think of the best ones.
Okay, good. Let's keep that going. Trying to think of one of the best.
One of the best has got to be Heath Ledger's Joker. He wasn't the best Joker, but he was a really good villain. You know what I mean? Like you said, like he was a good, like really crazy version of Joker, but he wasn't like, he was a very unique version of Joker. Probably one of the, like the only one we've gotten that was kind of like that. But regardless of if it was a completely unique and new villain, it still would have been one of the best villains ever. You know what I mean? Like, I think as a villain on its own, that's up there for me.
For sure. Definitely top 3. One that comes to mind, but I don't know if I could like put it as the number 1, but I'll put it as well as like top 3 would be like Ultron, Age of Ultron. People be hating. People hate. I don't understand. Love to hate on that shit. But
James
like
Spader's monologues, alone, his monologues alone put him up there.
Fucking incredible. Like it's so good. Like I just watched this semi recently, and like still, like I've watched the movie like 10 plus times, and like he still gets me. Like with like just his like quippiness, his, like you said, his monologues, just the overall tone of what he brought to the character was just awesome.
Yeah, very unique.
Awesome.
A much different iteration than any of us were expecting, I think, which is why I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
I guess.
But as long as you're open to these new interpretations, I don't understand how you could dislike it. Please get in the comments. Let us know why, if you did not like Ultron as a character. Like, there's a lot of issues with the movie itself, Age of Ultron, but specifically with Ultron as a villain, as a character. If you did not like it, please let us know why in the comments below. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
I think Thanos has got to be up there too.
Yeah, damn.
Just because of the impact, recent impact.
Yeah. Sucks that, like I'm trying to think of some DCU ones, dude, and there's none. Or DCEU, rather.
Yeah. I mean, just DC in general, live action, there really aren't any good ones. I mean,
just not many good ones, dude. Like like you said, Heath Ledger's Joker. If we're going like from like DC, the best.
Oh yeah, I can't think of. You know what? Okay. No disrespect, because I do love the show, but it was a teen drama, and one of the best iterations of Lex Luthor we've gotten was Smallville, which is really saying something.
Yeah,
like, I love Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh no, that's another good. Oh shit, dude! Oh, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex. That's gotta be one of the. That's gotta be the worst. That's gotta be
that's your worst for sure.
Yeah,
you know what?
It's
my
gotta
best.
be the worst.
I'm gonna go with my best. I figured it out. Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. I loved that movie growing up, and that guy scared the shit out of me as a kid.
I hate you so much. That's so good. Love it. check and check.
I don't know why he popped into my mind, but he did.
But yeah, you guys, please let us know, what is your very favorite and very least favorite villain of all time in anything. If you want to talk DC, if you want to talk Marvel, let us know specifically, but mostly just what is your top and bottom when it comes to villainy.
Yeah,
And
or the
as
pillars. Yeah,
yeah,
or
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
pillars of villainy. Either one. We want to hear any and all thoughts that you have.
We want to talk to you guys. That is the main focus of this podcast. We want to like talk to you guys. We want to create a community where we can just like create a space where we can better comics by talking about the good and the bad. Like we want to like highlight like the best and worst always, so that like as a community we can not tolerate the worst and glaze up the best, so that the people have the data to give us what we want.
Exactly. Right? Yep. Let's just try and push it up. Let's try and raise the bar, raise the standard.
And in that vein, please like, share, subscribe at Hosts4Hire Podcast. That's Hosts4Hire Podcast with the number 4. And as always, thank you for joining us, you guys, and we will see you on the next episode.
Peace.